Hope by xxImpressions. Chapter 3.
Battalion 25 to Maine. I need CPD dispatched to my location now.
Growled out Chief Bowden as he kept his eyes on the tense scene in front of him. As he explained the situation to dispatch, you were trying to remain as calm as you could while standing with your back to your attacker. You weren't sure when he appeared, but you were certain of the cold touch of metal currently brushing against your neck. Knowing now was not the time to panic, you kept your hands up and began to talk to the person behind you.
Hey, man, what's your name?
There was a moment in which you didn't think he would reply. But once he did, you followed up with,
Okay, and what's going on here?
I had to do it, was his quick but cryptic answer. Fire is the greatest purifier. Immediately understanding this person probably wasn't in their right mind, you made the decision to keep up the conversation, since that meant he would keep talking. And if he kept talking, that meant he was distracted. This allowed Kelly the time he needed to sneak behind the bulk of one of the fire trucks, which placed him about 10 feet behind the guy still holding you hostage. Taking one last glance around the bend, Severhide confirmed the knife wielder was still facing the other way and was busy answering your questions. Leaving the cover the truck provided, the squad lieutenant crept as quietly as he could towards you both. But just as he was about to pounce, the deranged man caught sight of him from the corner of his eye. Turning swiftly with you still in his arms, your attacker yelled out, "Stay back," as he thrust his blade out in Kelly's direction as a warning. But that, thankfully, was all the diversion you needed to act on your own behalf. Using one hand to keep his weaponed arm extended and away from you, you stomped on the man's foot and drove your sharp elbow back into his gut, forcing him to double over. Then, with the assistance of a little gravity, you used both hands to throw him over your shoulder and to the ground. Once his back hit the cement, you began twisting his wrist as you authoritatively said,
Drop it.
Whether from the pressure of your hands or from the tone of your voice, your command was followed as the knife fell to the ground from your stunned assailant's grasp. It was fortunately at this moment that uniformed officers from CPD showed up and were able to handcuff the subdued man as they got him up and led him to the back of one of their cruisers. You watched them for a moment before turning to the member of Squad 3, who you only officially met this morning. But now, he wore an expression of shock rather than stoicism. Still feeling the jitters of your own adrenaline coming down, you let out a laugh of disbelief as you said,
Talk about a wild first day.
Shaking his head as if even he couldn't believe it, Kelly incredulously replied with an impressed smile.
Yeah, I'll say. Are you all right?
Waving away his concerns and your jangled nerves, you responded as casually as you could.
Oh, yeah, not even a scratch.
To hide your trembling, you followed up by saying,
Thank you for having my back, though. I really appreciate it.
To your statement of gratitude, Kelly sincerely said,
Anytime.
By then, Bowden had finished his hurried approach towards you both.
Are you okay?
Asked the chief with growing concern.
I'm completely fine, Uncle Wallace. No harm done.
With your reassurance, Bowden still insisted you get checked out by Gabby just to confirm that you were in fact healthy, while he and Severhide went back to dealing with the house fire still blazing behind them. Though not all of the firefighters witnessed the way the hostage situation was resolved, they all had most certainly heard about it by the time the trucks had made it back to the house. Arriving just in time for lunch, almost everyone was sat at the tables enjoying their individual meals. This excluded Cruz and Otis, of course, as they were reenacting the drama for everyone who had missed it. Otis was in the middle of their retelling as he said with ultimate pride,
And then she pitches him over her shoulder like he's a sack of potatoes.
Joe and Brian mimic a slower version of their narration, to humorous effect, only for Joe to stand back up and finish by saying to their audience,
I'm serious. It was like something out of a movie.
There were a few more chuckles in the room at the excitement on their faces, while you wore a bashful smile on yours.
It was nothing, guys.
You humbly try to brush off.
Like hell it was.
Came the automatic rebuttal from the man who had witnessed it all firsthand. Looking to Severhide with surprise, you caught the look of admiration in his eyes before he asked,
Where'd you learn how to fight like that?
Although you were glad today's stunt seemed to have earned you the respect of the house, your mind kept flashing back to the moment where everything was happening, and all you could think about was your instinct and desire to live. Trying not to remember a time in which you had felt similar emotions, you simply replied,
Oh, there was always a free self-defense class to go to in New York.
Considering your flippant wave and vague response, Kelly got the distinct impression that this was actually something you did not want to talk about. Taking the hint for what it was, the squad lieutenant decided to switch topics.
Well, for days like today, we all meet up after shift at this place called Molly's and grab a drink. Maybe you could stop by tomorrow and get to know everyone a little better?
He was met with kind and welcoming sounds of encouragement from around the table. So much so that all you could say was,
I'd love to go.
and while you felt the genuine warmth coming from the people that worked so closely with your uncle, Kelly felt a strange happiness that his simple invitation had been accepted. End of chapter 3.